Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Anonymous. Anonymous typically gives us some pretty good music. Also, Anonymous is probably more than one person. Special selection request, Jersey Eyes by The Critic. We've had The Critic on here before. A really low quality track last time. If I remember correctly, The Critic, it was an underground post-hardcore or screamo band, I don't remember. And finding their music was pretty difficult. So I find it interesting that we have a new channel here. This isn't the channel we looked at last time. They don't even seem to have a subscriber number. Called the Critic Archive, which is pretty cool. It's always good to see people archiving older music that might not have been on a record label and keeping it for posterity and for people of the future to discover it. So here we go, checking out the track Jersey Eyes. Let's dive in, see what's going on with the Critic. I know it's a little quiet, but it does get louder. So very cleanly shifting from that 3-3-2 into the 6-8. Interesting bit of atmosphere coming off of our second guitar. A halftime 4-4 against their faster 6-8 earlier. Wait, is it still going? Oh man. Really interesting snare pattern. Oh man. That double bait and switch was fantastic. not only did the song just abruptly end in the middle with some silence, oh, that's a odd ending. Kind of got a chuckle out of me as we're going like 60 miles an hour, and then just like hitting a wall. The song just stops abruptly. Okay, whatever, that's fine. And then no, actually, that's a fake out. We're still going. We're gonna do something totally different now. And here's some drumsticks clattering against the rim of the snare to showcase we're still recording. Like, oh, the whole thing was hilarious. Absolutely love that. Um, the ending, our final section there, that was interesting, primarily because of the snare. I really don't know how this worked. It has to be entirely on feel. I was trying to create the subdivisions in my head of what the snare was playing. Literally, like if I were to write it down on paper, theoretically, that's what I meant. What the snare's playing theoretically, and I just nope, couldn't get it. It's a bizarre polymeter, polyrhythm. I don't know. It's a strange tuplet, I think, is what I would probably write it as, but also it feels like it slips in and out of time, honestly. It drags at some parts and rushes at others, and it feels like the drummer just gets back in time to hit the downbeat of the restart of the repetition in order to line back up with the rest of the instruments. But as soon as we move away from those double stick rolls into the da 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 da, just those single accents with the one hand, and we kind of drag it back a little bit. We shift into a tuplet of some sort, and then speed that back up. It's just such a bizarre idea. It works well. Like don't get me wrong. I say bizarre because it's uncommon. It's not something I've really heard too often. It's eccentric is probably a better word. It works perfectly for what's going on in here, but I just have no experience with something like that outside of theoretical. I could imagine it. Just I've never heard anyone pull that off. Definitely a bit of a mathier side of things. Speaking of mathier, we start off the track in 4/4, emphasizing a 3/3/2 rhythm. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And so we have that nice ba 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 ba, and a little bit of rush, a little bit of push there at the end of the phrase, moving back into the start of it again. We come out of this though, and we move into a 6/8, which is just 1 2 3 4 5 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6. It's the same thing as the other. We just lack that 7/8 at the end. We lack the last two beats. And so when we move into that, it's so smooth. We have a new idea that still presents that emphasized 1 and 4 on the 6 count. It's just we don't have the rush at the end of it. We just stick with this smooth time signature. And so we move away from the 3/3/2 phrasing in a 4-beat bar, and we push over to a 6-beat bar. That's faster because we've moved away from quarter notes getting the beat to eighth notes get the beat. It's a very smooth transition is what I'm trying to get across there. I really like that. And I think it's even better later on when we pull in the slower 4/4 right before the fake out ending. And we half time the 4/4. So we bring it back to 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. We bring it back to that 4/4 that we had at the beginning, but we don't emphasize or we don't break it up into groupings of 3/3/2. We had it in groupings of just 4 or 2, something divisible symmetrically. But instead of working with the speed of the song, the tempo that we were originally, we cut that in half. I don't think we technically changed the tempo. I think we just emphasized notes less often. We played half as many notes per bar, which makes it feel like we've slowed down. Regardless, both of these transitions, all three of the time signatures work so well. The journey between all this was fantastic. I think that's what makes that midpoint so interesting is that not only is it an abrupt end after we've just had a bunch of really fluid shifts, but it's also an abrupt end that takes us to a brand new idea to wrap the song up. And it's like, man, you had so many smooth transitions, and you're just like, nah, we don't want to do another one. You can't make us. We're just gonna. It's not even just that we're gonna start with one thing and then just do something totally different. We're gonna stop the song for 3 seconds before before we go to the new idea. It's so antagonistic, just to another level of antagonistic composition, and I like it. Not sonically. I wouldn't say that I'm a huge fan of wanting to listen to this, but just from the gutsiness of doing it and the fact that I think it fits with their overall punky attitude of the music, it's a great idea. It works well for what they're doing. And it did catch me off guard and give me a chuckle. So at least in this specific case, I guess I can give it a pass sonically as well. As I said, it's not something that I want to hear a lot of, but it was fun in this bite-sized taste. Compositionally, there's a lot of chords done rhythmically instead of just play a chord and wait 4 beats and then play the next one, like a lot of uh, stereotypical ways of crafting a foundation. This group plays a chord, but it's rhythmically odd. They're, this is really bordering on mathcore the more that I think about it. It's loud, it's abrasive, and it's mathematically technical, especially when we come to rhythms more so than time signature. Some things, as I mentioned, even there at the end, talking about that snare pattern, it relates more to a feel. It would be really difficult to write this out and then to memorize how to play that based on sheet music. It's easier just to say, oh, this feels right to me, so I'm going to do it. More along the lines of what Dillinger Escape Plan or Car Bomb does when they create music. Two mathcore bands. So that's kind of where I'm making that connection. Um, the bass is doing a lot of pedal tone stuff alongside the bass kick pattern and or the guitar pattern, and the vocals are just loud and screamy. So there's not a lot of technicality going on in the writing itself. A lot of the technicality is in the rhythmic stuff, which I've already discussed quite at large. So I don't know if there's much else I want to bring up on the compositional area other than the fact that there is a bit of an atmospheric component to the 4/4, the part before the fake out ending, that I enjoyed. When I listened, there's a left pan guitar and it seems like it's just playing chords with the rhythmic flow that matches one of the patterns in the drums. But there's another instrument in here, and I think it's an electric guitar, and it's creating some overtones on top of it, but I couldn't hear its placement. I could hear the effect of it, the atmosphere it was creating through the note intervals it was playing against the chords that our left guitar was playing. But there really wasn't a guitar off to the right. The mid was just drums, bass, and vocals, and we had our guitar to the left that I could clearly hear. So I don't know where this second grouping of notes was coming from. I thought for a second it might just be that the guitarist, the left-hand one, is playing these chords. It's just a really beautiful chord progression, but it doesn't feel like it's coming from that instrument. It feels like it's more of an overall sound than relegated to this direction. So I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it was a really beautiful section focusing on some ambience where we didn't really hear any of that elsewhere in the track. The last thing I want to touch on before we hit lyrics are the vocals. This is kind of make or break. I don't really have anything to add to this. I'm not going to increase your appreciation for this vocal delivery. But there is something interesting going on here, and it's the vocal. It's the way that the words are shaped. They're almost barked in a way that you can hear the note sort of swelling into it. So it starts small, kind of envelops a larger tone and it quickly scoops back up and tightens up and gets quieter again. Almost like a dog bark. It's designed to have a point at the very top where it's most impactful and loudest and directed, a quick get in and a quick get out. It's designed to be loud at a specific moment in time. That's sort of how the vocals sound to me, like barking. I don't think I would have enjoyed this if I didn't grow up with stuff like it. Honestly, I don't know how I got into it. The earliest I can remember hearing anything like this was listening to the Attic demos from My Chemical Romance and listening to Gerard's absolutely terrible vocals before he started training in on them. But it's also something that I've heard in a lot of early post-hardcore bands. To me, it's missing the oomph. It has the emotion, it has the punch, but it's missing the musicality of it. Again, like I said, if I was coming into these sounds today fresh, I don't know that I would enjoy them, but there's an endearing nostalgic element to them for me. It's not good technique. Well, I don't know about good technique health-wise. It's not good technique musically. It doesn't sound appealing. It's very difficult to make anything out of it. It just sounds like barking. The human voice element is sort of lost entirely on it. And even the rhythmic components of it are a bit disrupted because of how staccato they are, just how short of a tone they are. If they were held out just a little bit longer, there could be something rhythmic to play with there, to change the length of them, but they're all these really short notes. Dot, 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 dot. They're shaped interestingly, but it's still just a series of these short notes. So even aside from a purely textural component, even musically I find them to be a bit dull. But I can't deny that there's something about them that's nostalgic, and that certainly colors the entire experience for me. I don't know that I would go out of my way to listen to this, and I remember we listened to another track from the Critics, and I don't remember having this criticism about the vocals. So it's possible that the vocalist had a difference. They also had layered vocals. I can't remember the name of that track we listened to, though. But I remember the song just being a bit more dynamic and complex than this. At least as far as layers, vocal layers particularly. If nothing else, it shows me that the band is a bit more diverse than I was expecting, given that they were an underground band that didn't go anywhere, barely picked up much recognition. It's very difficult to find any of their music. Very few people are archiving it. I kind of figured they would be more of a, not to put it negatively, but a one-trick pony. They do one thing very well, and that's what they made their demo disc of, and then they were just never heard from again kind of deal. They never had the opportunity to grow as artists, to expand their sound. But no, there's actually a little bit of diversity here in just the two songs I've heard. All right, with all that said, let's dive into some lyrics and see what's going on there. It took me 2 reads to figure out what's going on with this. It appears to me that it's a person who has been possibly walked on their entire life and they're finally deciding to make a stand. Maybe it's just a single person who has walked on them and they're deciding to make a stand against them. I picked this up from the very end of the track. It says, I drive it back. I can't accept it. It's not fair asking to put myself on pause. That's the only line in here that tells me what any of this could be about. And it puts a nice spin on everything else retrospectively, because up until that final line, I had no idea what was going on here. I read it again. I was like, oh, okay, from that perspective, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. The verse says, your madness has fallen down. A part has broken, and I heard it talk. Your sins have been washed away. Okay. The chorus says, this is different. This means something, but you can't miss it. My best interpretation of this is that at this moment, he says, your madness has fallen down and a part has broken off. It is seeing the person behind the mask, bearing witness to who they are, not who they present themselves to be. He says, this time, it's got to be something else. It has to mean something. I see clearly this time. I need to do something with it. I can't miss this opportunity. That's how I read the chorus. This time it's different. It means something, and I can't miss my opportunity here. It says, I search around, but I can't go on like this, leading back to, putting his life on pause in order to help somebody else. He says, every second that goes by, it's a waste of time. We've got to take it back tonight, and I won't settle for all this here. So the bridge says, for this debt, I'll drive out of here. I'm going to fight you back. I've got to have control. And so it all sort of comes together there. That they feel they've been treated unfairly by this other person. And they're ready to take back control of their life now that they've been asked to put their entire life on hold for them. And this was the piece. This was where the facade began to break. They're like, wait. That seems like a bit much. And maybe they start retroactively thinking, oh, snap. They kind of showcased this kind of control in the past multiple times. Like, I got to retake control of my life now. I think that's what the song's about. I can't really tie that back to the music, though, because the music is it's something else. It's all over the place. It's kind of all over the place as the lyrics are. I didn't mention some of the ways that the words are interestingly spoken. The ways that certain words get repeated. I sort of took the general idea and presented it to you, but like in that penultimate verse, it says every second that goes by is a waste of time. We've got to take it back. Time. I've got to take it back tonight. It before. I won't settle for all of this. It's sort of like interrupted train of thoughts. Kind of almost get a sentence out and then like you got to retread a little bit. Then you get a little bit more out and then you think about a totally different thing that's parallel to it. A lot of the lyrics here kind of feel that way. And I vaguely remember the last time we checked out the Critic, there was something similar to it. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a disjointed lyrical read, but the music was kind of in that direction as well. Great flow throughout, but each individual moment was a bit eclectic. All right, those are my thoughts. The Critic's Jersey Eyes. Let me know what you thought of this one. If you enjoyed it, anything that stood out to you that you'd like to correct me on or add on to what I said. Maybe you have your own opinions or perspectives on things. Throw all that stuff down in the comments. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It'll take you to this menu right here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. I don't know why they're not showing. Bam, bam, bam. That's in reverse order, but whatever. Things are getting real weird here. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, as usual. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of indie rock. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.